Comic Book Nation Season 6, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of ComicBook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and as you can see, if you're watching us live, we are getting ready for the holiday season to really kick off. This is our last episode before Christmas 2024, and there's a lot to do. We have a lot of Christmas presents to unpack a little early, starting with the trailer for James Gunn's Superman. So without further ado, let's get into it. I have my co-hosts, Matthew Aguilar and Janelle Wheeler, here with me today, and joining us is Mr. Evan Valentine from the Comic Book Anime team. And let's just get right on into it. Let's look up. There's something in the sky. Is it a bird? It's a plane. It's a Superman trailer. So the trailer for James Gunn's Superman dropped yesterday, shocking everyone after a massive hype train and a countdown and a press event. We got the Superman teaser trailer. So I'm not going to talk a lot. I'm going to say, I'll save what I have to say last. Let's just kind of go around the room and get some immediate reactions. Janelle, what did you think of this?
Oh, God. I don't know if you want to start with me.
I mean, I just did. So, well, yes.
I watched this for the first time live on Twitch, and I felt a little confused at like the choice of music with the scenes that I was looking at. It honestly just felt weird to me because it looked like the imagery looked like Guardians, or like, it's very bright and poppy, and I don't know. And then the music was like extremely dramatic. It was stunning soundtrack. But it just didn't fit to me. I was just kind of confused, and I was like, well, what are they doing here? Is it going to be like poppy and quippy and like cute and, heartfelt, blah, 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 or is it going to be really serious? Like the trailer seemed really serious to me. And then I took a breather and I vented a little bit, and then I went back and I watched it again, and I definitely loved it more on the second watch through. My only criticism is that I personally don't need I don't need Green Lantern. I don't need Hawk Girl. I don't need the dragon thing. I need one villain. I need my hero, and I need their supporting characters. Like, that's all. I don't know the dude with the weird face things. There's a lot of things that is just, there's a lot going on. All I need is Crypto, Superman, Lois, family, and like, that's it. It's fine that stuff's in there. I'm sure James has a vision and it's going to be good, but it just seems like a lot for one movie. And that was my count. Like, I didn't like that they brought in like America for the Doctor Strange and all of these extra people when I really just need the star. Like, I just need Superman's story. So I'm excited, but I feel like everybody else had a much stronger reaction. They were way more hyped. I was just kind of like, okay, we'll see. Also, Crypto he's not a shaggy dog in the comics. So I was very thrown off. I was like, wait. As long as he's not a doodle or something, we're okay. But like, he's smaller and like scrappier looking than I thought. I thought it was kind of like a yellow lab or something. But that's just me nitpicking since you guys have me reading too many comics.
I love how you pass that off on us as some gas.
I don't remember really diving into Crypto.
Nice try. But all right, Matt, I'm always curious. Matt, how did you feel?
So I watched the trailer for the first time in the car because I was about to head into Ember's school for something, and it dropped. I was like, oh my God. So I watched the first one with phone speakers and just that, right? And I got chills as it built. About midway point, that music, man, that gorgeous score starts to hit, and you start to see there's one moment that defines the whole trailer for me. When Superman swoops in and protects that child, and everything is like exploding behind.
Oh, the Zack Snyder slow motion shot
from that Smith. I mean, yeah, but it also has heart. Something Snyder doesn't know what to do with when it comes to Superman. So
yeah, Snyder doesn't. Hold on, Snyder.
Yeah,
I'm
she
so
started it.
She started
it.
Snyder does not.
I had to though. I had to. The slow
No,
motion.
you don't. You don't. You really don't. Like Snyder doesn't own slow mo. Everybody needs to come off that, or we'll take your asses. I'd love to take half of like everybody on Twitter and streaming's ass to real film school. But Snyder does not own film school.
Are people getting hyped or like weird about that? Are people saying that?
No.
Oh, okay. I was just trying to be funny.
Are you kidding me? It is a huge discussion topic. People have.
Oh, is it really?
Oh my god! Everybody's picking every little thing.
I'm not on their side. I was just joking.
A Snyder kind of comparison piece. It's nuts. We'll get to that.
Yes,
though.
but I don't want to get to
positivity. Yeah. Let's get to positivity.
Yes, I don't want to get through it. So that moment defines like the whole trailer of from there on. It's the way everything blends from like the heartbeats and how that ties into the whistle and like the way it's all laid out, man. But that spot is what really defines this trailer for me, because then you start to see like the visuals in the other countries, and you start to see like there's just so much there that as that builds to the end, I had chills from the phone trailer. And then I watched it again on this actual like TV, big screen, saw all the stuff, right? And the emotion that it captured for me, like that's what I wanted from Superman. Ironically enough, what I loved about this as compared to, because I'm always one, right, to harp on like needless cameos. And we talked about this before. Like I like what Gunn is doing here is in stepping into the middle of the world. There's no origin story here, right? We're not getting the rocket and all that stuff. Like this world is already formed. So obviously there's going to be other people around because you're stepping into a world as opposed to seeing it for the first time. I'm totally okay with that. But those cameos did not become the discussion point for me. I was so fixated on Superman and Lois and Clark and all that stuff throughout. That's what I wanted this trailer to do. That's what I want the movie to do. Those things are nice. I'm marking out for Guy Gardner, right? Bowl haircut and everything. But like, but like that doesn't. Uncle if that Fester? Defines the trailer for me, something's gone awry, and that's not what happened here. So,
Uncle Fester with a power ring.
Yeah, man. That's oh my god, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. So on the third viewing, I watched this trailer like 3 or 4 times, right? Third, fourth viewing, chill's still there. I'm excited for this.
Evan, what did you think, man? Because you're about we're the same age range. Like, what did you think?
So first off, shame on Janelle for not knowing one of DC's biggest superheroes, Metamorpho. How could you possibly not know? Let's gather around, kids, gather around, ladies and gentlemen. I am a Superman guy, right? My screen, my wallpaper on my computer is Superman. I have a giant mural of Superman that is hanging behind me right now as we speak. I was very cautious about this movie in general to start, but everything that James Gunn has done in terms of his DC cinematic universe, every announcement, everything I've seen so far has had me excited. Seeing this trailer, the main takeaway that I have is the fact that the sense of hope and optimism that James Gunn is attempting to put into his version of Superman, I could not be more excited for. My favorite shot of this is the kid in the foreign country raising up the flag that has a homemade Superman. There it is. Superman shield on it, because that is the stuff that I have always felt encapsulates the character to me. And I think that there is a pitfall when it comes to Superman in that he's so powerful that people really focus on the superpowers versus the heart of Clark Kent, this farm boy from Kansas who just wants to make sure that everything is right in the world. And that is the sense that I get from this trailer. I would have changed. If I were to make a slight tweak to this, I wouldn't have gone with the John Williams guitar score. I would have gone with, in my heart of hearts, I was always hoping that Gunn was going to pick David Bowie's Starman to start it off. I thought that would have been worked really well, or if they had just gone with the original version of John Williams' score, I thought that would have happened. But I thought that like adding in Crypto to start, I think is a great choice because Crypto has not appeared before, and it just having him in there kind of shows that they are going for a more Silver Age version of Kal-El, of Clark Kent. And I totally agree with Janelle's take in terms of like, yeah, there's a lot going on in this, like Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl. There's a giant monster. There's a giant kaiju that is tearing up the towns. But what I took away from this trailer the most is that there is serious heart behind Clark. And that is what I was always looking for. That is what I wanted from a Superman movie. And I cannot wait. This remains my most anticipated movie of next year. And seeing this trailer just makes me more enthusiastic to see it. I thought that, like, I am hyped for this.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
David,
all right.
let's go.
So there we go. I was trying to send something to Rich to see if we couldn't get it in the show here so I can get some of you stupid nerds to shut the hell up. God, it's just I hate doing this. I was so happy in my new job. Let's say. All right. So Rich is working on it, but I'll get to that little drop in a little bit. Yeah, some of you on the comments, shut the hell up too. Like anybody being mean to Janelle or being misogynistic, shut.
It's fine. I don't read the comments, so you're good. You can say whatever you want.
But I do, and I do. And if we were, in the same room, it'd be a different story. Like,
I've been on the internet for way too long to care about comments.
Oh yeah, but I care. I care what this show's community looks like. So I care. Yeah, stop coming for Janelle because she made one slow-mo comment. It's fine. Everybody gets to have an opinion on the show, and that's why we like it. We rarely ever agree on anything.
Literally, because I said I was joking like 4 times. I almost cursed, but come at me in my Twitch, and then I can actually tell you how I really feel about you.
Yep, go for that. I'd love to see that.
There you go.
There you go. Oh.
Y'all think you know me. Guys, I have the professional aura on because we're on comicbook.com.
Yeah. I have a lot of other jobs to do these days, and so like I like coming on here and just doing the pod just to be with you guys and with our audience members. But yeah, I could risk it all, baby. All right, so let's talk about Superman again. I watched this the first time on my phone because it dropped, and I was also just like in the midst of things, and so I was just like, oh boy, let's see what this is. And I think it's hard to kind of always take that vision first when you're so attached, especially Superman. The thing I will say about this whole experience is I didn't realize I'd forgotten how attached I am to Superman in some ways until this trailer started coming on. So I watched it on my phone and then I was like, you know what? And then I kind of was looking at the reactions on Twitter and I saw people like getting real like emotional and stuff, and I'm like, am I just dead inside? Like, what's wrong with me? And so I sat down and I came out and I went into like my main home theater and I put it on the big screen in 4K and like put on the sound system. And yeah, then I was there for a while. Like I was there for about half an hour, both just like rewatching the trailer and like texting people and like texting some of my like oldest best friends, my dad, like all these people, and just being like in super emotional, like super duper emotional, like, because I think what this trailer does, and I think whatever level of success he has with some people, I know it worked for me. I feel like it worked kind of like for Evan, is there's things that are in even the guitar riff. There is this kind of common theme in the presentation in this. It's kind of evoking the idea that like Superman is such an icon and such an enduring icon that like there are certain things about him that are unchangeable and unbending and the core of this character, even though the times change, which is kind of like the theme that Gunn's talked around this whole time. We still have that excellent quote from Dan Jurgens that I think I've been digging up lately about him talking about, if a guy who wants to be hopeful and nice seems to be going out of a favor, that's not him, that's the world that's getting kind of crazy.
Right.
And he's just still standing the same in the middle of it. And it's about his juxtaposition to this changing world while he's just still trying to be the same kind of core values. So I get like the guitar riff and stuff is like, yeah, that's not John Williams' score. It's a new age. It's like a whole new era of sound after John Williams, but people who were affected by that, you know, that's like Gen X rock stuff, people who were affected by that song. Those are people like me. I've gone through life everywhere, but I still go through life humming the Superman theme. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And just the way this is kind of presenting itself, presenting Superman, presenting this film and the idea of Superman is that kind of the wonderment of that Richard Donner thing, because that was Richard Donner's whole thing. It wasn't like, hey, watch this guy kick Lex Luthor's ass. It's like you will believe a man can fly. Like you'll believe in this godlike figure. And I think, like, to Evan's point, it's when, we get these little sketches of the DCU, but it's when you see that kid kind of like raise the flag up and not just do that, but he's closing his eyes and he's trying to say Superman, you know, hard, like praying, because he knows Superman might actually hear him. And then if you put together the other pieces of the trailer, he starts it, but the other people around him start also doing it. Like the other people in that war zone also start chanting Superman, 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 to get Superman's attention. And that's what kind of really kind of struck me and really kind of got me on an emotional level, is that Gunn understands the appeal, the core appeal of Superman, which is a Jesus kind of, or just a God kind of archetype. The idea that there is some benevolent person or force up there in the sky that has the power to save us from all kinds of horrible calamities that the world would throw at us if we call out to them, pray to them, do these things, that there is something that could actually swoop down and save us from these terrible things in life. And that's the appeal of Superman. That's why kids love Superman. And I think it makes me emotional, because I think like what Gunn is going to do is he's going to try to appeal to Superman to a new generation of kids. But this is also like that John Krasinski movie that just came out, you know, If. In a way that is doing that same theme that Krasinski, and I don't think Krasinski nailed it as well in that movie, but this idea that as we've become this adults in this digital, cynical, darker world, like that, we have to remember there is this part of us that remembers that hopefulness, that belief, that wonderment from when we were young, and putting on capes and running around and believing in a world like that, you know, it's so hard to believe in now. And I think that's the part that got to me, was like, oh yeah, I do have feelings. Like I do remember, I was like Ronan, I'm like taking off a mask in the rain, like, don't give me hope. And like, I'm not used to it. And I was the biggest Snyder bro up here, like, but I'm not going to sit here and not admit that. I think I said it to somebody like this. Zack Snyder had 1,000 expositional words and an entire 10-hour trilogy planned to tell us Lois Lane is the most important thing to Superman, with time travel and all this other crap that we were going to do to prove that without Lois Lane, Superman becomes unraveled and becomes this evil, completely different person. James Gunn just did that shit in one hug at the end of a trailer to show you that right now that what we're looking at, that no matter how powerful Superman is, he needs that freaking hug from Lois Lane. And so Lois Lane is also powerful in that sense, as the powerful woman behind a powerful man. One trailer shot compared to all these stupid words and time travel sequences and it's Lois, it's her, she's the key. Like, do you get the difference yet? I'm the biggest Snyder bro, but I'm not going to sit here and cap and pretend like that is not more effective storytelling. That you do in a gesture what you couldn't do in multiple movies and an entire planned trilogy. Like, nowhere did Amy Adams and Henry Cavill have a moment that made me be like, oh yeah, like Lois, like after he breaks Zod's neck is probably the closest, but that's such a weird moment. Because getting kind of motherly affection after you break somebody's neck is some psycho stuff. Like, so that's not quite there. But they did it. in here. And I was just like, okay, all right. Like maybe this guy does get it a little bit better. Now for my final piece of this tirade, Richard, may I go to Richard? Richard, may we go to the board and go to the picture board? Because now, guys,
I haven't seen that before.
No wonder.
guys, if you're not watching this live, shame on you. But what we've done is pick up a picture of James Gunn's proudly, a past game James Gunn, not James Gunn right now, but celebrating his pets. He's standing by a picture of a nice white cat and a nice little shaggy white dog. So if we're going to talk about the crypto thing, it's not like crypto
He can change it just because he feels that he wants to honor his own dog. That's kind of, I don't know.
Hitchcock is in all of his films. Like, come on, what are we doing? Michael Rooker is like James Gunn's dog in every film. Like, he can put his dog in the film if he wants to. I'm not going to sit here. I mean, anything we can do, honestly, and WB, I'm sure was like anything we can do to separate from that Rock movie. We're good.
I did see Brywood's comment. It was somewhere up here, and it made me chuckle. Was the how did Dwayne let anyone else play crypto? I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was great.
We don't know. Maybe that is The Rock doing the barks. Yeah, maybe that. I know, but like you're like the one.
I love Super Pets,
else...
but like it's okay to have a different, dog. And also the dog is cute. I'm not tripping on crypto. I don't know. There's not.
I'm just saying for the record, crypto's an Easter egg, guys. He's James Gunn's dog.
But I love how he is also.
He wants to think his dog is super.
Yeah, but I also love how he's used. Because I agree with Evan in a huge sense that, like, Gunn's leaned into the Silver Age stuff. He's even said before, right? Like, we're doing things that if you're at this point, whether you've liked them or not, there have been, eight Superman? Have there been 8 Superman movies if you count all the Reeve sequels and
crazy
Snyder?
Superman Returns.
5, 6. Are you counting Batman, Superman?
Yeah, are we counting Batman and Superman and Justice League?
He's co-headline.
We're getting towards 10. Yeah, we're definitely getting towards 10.
So, at this point, it's actually kind of difficult to find, things and other elements that haven't been highlighted in some way in those movies, right? And they've all kind of varied in terms of tone and things like that. So, for me to bring in crypto is like, I think that immediately sets it apart without saying anything, much to Kofi's point of like displaying things in the trailer without having to then carry it with a bunch of exposition. You immediately set a different tone when you include him. Because again, it's something we haven't seen on the big screen outside of animation, obviously Super Pets, but like it just immediately sets it apart. And if that is indicative of his tone throughout, we've seen him talk about like the costume and the trunks and what all that means and all that stuff. I just think it was in its best interest to find differentiating elements to set it apart from things, because I don't think you can look at this movie and go, oh, it's just like Man of Steel. You can't look at this movie and even say it's just like the original or whatever. Like it really does forge its own identity pretty quickly within a matter of 2 minutes or whatever. I think that's a good sign. Again, it's a trailer, doesn't tell you anything if a movie's going to land or anything like that. But I was already hopeful going in. This trailer didn't do anything but, raise those hopes. And I think, much to Evan's point, it's about hope, man. That's what I always wanted this movie to embody, and we're off to a good start.
And I like that the implications of this is like, it's not even like Superman is going to, there is an eternal conflict you can already tell is being set up here. Like Superman in this trailer in a lot of scenes isn't looking like happy and super and bright. He's dealing with a lot of things, from being beat to crap when he's actually, there's a theme over there. I'll just say over this that already seems like the difficulties of trying to be a godly figure in today's world and please everybody, save everybody, and deal with that internally with yourself is going to be like a major focus of this. And I like all the brushstrokes we already get like that. Like that scene with him and Pa Kent, you can tell there's something ominous about that. Like he knows, like you can tell from just the quick shot that Pa Kent is dying or aging. And, you know, Clark is desperately trying to hold on to that, but he can't stop that. Like he's not going to be able to stop that. You can see whenever he's walking through the crowd and people are nailing him with beer cans, he's just been through something. He's half burned up. He just did some heavy Supermaning and people are not happy. And he's just like, man, like, you know, but you have somebody there like the lowest thing to kind of keep him grounded, inspired to get back out there. And it's going to be these simple things that, you know, the little things, you know, friendships, connections, stuff like that. And when you put in Crypto and Kelix, and we even see Kelix down bad in this, it's like even the Fortress of Solitude. This is a Superman who's surrounded by people he cares about and loves, his pet dog, his robot helper from Krypton that keeps him connected to that culture.
Oh, that's
and like, yeah, if you read my Easter egg article, I got you, boo. I got everything. Yeah, so Kelix is in there, and so he's going to be this guy who in himself is pretty well rounded and has a good foundation, but he's in a world trying to do stuff where the world's crazy now. And I think that's going to be a very interesting take to see. And it already kind of is funny because I feel like Gunn's already nailing this meta level of us and our reaction and how everybody is going to swirl and argue and do all this about Superman is exactly a point that this movie is going to kind of grab and maybe do like a kung fu spin on us and put back at us and be like, imagine trying to be Superman and all this. Like, yeah.
That's to really quickly curtail off that. I think that I saw someone in the comments say like, oh, if you read the comics, this isn't Superman. My dude. I've read my fair share of comics. And just to give an example, the setting that James Gunn is attempting to use here is kind of similar to that of Kingdom Come, which is effectively a futuristic story that sees Superman returning from his retirement to enter into a world where being Superman is cheesy. One of my favorite stories in the Superman mythos is What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way, which was written by Joe Kelly, which is actually ironic because if you read that story, you can see the makings of what is James Gunn's universe. Because in that story, Superman faces off against a twisted version of a already twisted super team known as the Authority. Lo and behold, that's going to get a movie in James Gunn's universe. And having a character like Superman show up who is very easy to write when you are able, there's a reason why we see so many iterations of an evil Superman, Homelander, Omni-Man, things like that, because it's easy. It's kind of easy to create that. And creating a Superman who is able to show up and inspire a sense of awe in people, a sense of everything's going to be okay, who is taking like a lot of hits and is still getting up. You know, there's that scene like Kofi mentioned where he's getting hit by a can and he's just been Supermaning and he's still Supermaning despite having to go up against all of these things. And it is exceptionally difficult to write Superman in general because there is creating that sense of wonder and that sense of hope in a character in this day and age is very difficult to do. And I think that that's one of the things that I respect and that I'm most excited for with this version is that this is just a farm boy. He's a kid who's trying to do what's right with a godly amount of power while kind of skirting that line between he's showing up into this world that already has superheroes. And as we've seen with like Creature Commandos and the Suicide Squad, it's not great being a superhero in this world. And having this inspirational figure show up and being able to kind of instill a sense of hope and optimism into people, I think is like, it's an amazing choice. And I'm excited to see where this movie goes with that. I think that that's the most exciting thing about it. So at the end of the day, yeah, we've read comics. We know. We know. We've read
Superman on this very show.
Yeah, we've read on Superman, bro. Like, come on. I will say, just to address the final thing we didn't really talk about, which is the other DC heroes and stuff. First of all, we did confirm at the press event for people just mouthing off in the comments still. The movie's under 3 hours. It's under 2.5. I wouldn't be surprised if Gunn did what Zack Snyder did. They both, Snyder, if you don't know, copied the exact runtime of Richard Donner's Superman, which is 143 minutes, 2 hours, 23 minutes. And so is Man of Steel. It's the exact, so people would complain, Man of Steel's too long. It's the exact same one as Donner's Superman. I would not be surprised if Gunn doesn't try to copy the same and nail that exactly 143-minute mark. So it's going to be about 220 is going to probably be the runtime for this. So I will say that I think, yeah, it's always a big risk. You can go Iron Man 2 with this kind of stuff, or Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, where you're just shoehorning things in that are just too much for the movie. But I think what Gunn is attempting to do is another thing, like we said with Crypto, that's never been done before, is we've never really had a good Superman movie where he's not just trying to inspire hope in planet Earth, humans, government, and things, but also other heroes who are around and maybe have different views on heroing than him, which is a new element that would be different. And that's the whole thing with the Authority, right? Where we expect that connect. Like, I expect this movie to end with Superman not solving everything, but being kind of resolute in his own confidence, being like, no, you know, the world's crazy, but I'm going to still be me and do me, and I'm going to be here. And then you got people like the Authority were like, yeah, that's cool, but we're going to turn this up a notch, like, and, you know, go their own way. So, I mean, yeah, but it is a risk, but we'll see how it plays out. But I think it could be something different. That's all.
Yeah.
All right.
We're curious about the Justice League International part of that. Because you even get a hint of that in the trailer where Guy is coming in and almost seems to be, that scene can go one of two ways. He's either going to be comforting and be like, hey, like, you okay? Type of thing to Superman as he walks in. Because Superman is very down at that point for some reason, right? They're walking him into the building, people are throwing stuff at him, and Guy coming in there can either mean like, you know, hey, I got you, like, what can I do? Or, hey man, you can't stay here, like, you got, you know, you're not like that scene can go very two ways. Because again, Justice League International had it was a very different type of book, a very different type of Justice League, but also like with everything tying into no, he's not called Lord, but the stag of it all, that can be very adversarial, right? Like, yes, you're superheroes, but you're operating within different purviews, and one person can do whatever the hell he wants and another person can't. There's all kinds of things you can play with in that and in those types of scenes, because these heroes exist. So I'm curious to see which way they kind of go.
All right. Well, we've done a whole mini episode of trailer reaction, and that's good.
Seriously, man.
We also have other things we got to get to today. So moving right along, Sonic 3 is out. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is out. And did anybody up here see it? Am I the only one?
I'm seeing it this weekend, but I didn't see it beforehand.
I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait.
Rich can come in here and if he wants to, and hop on, our producer Rich, and talk about it. So yeah, I mean, I'm heavily invested in the Sonic series. I got a 6-year-old boy. This is like his favorite franchise. I had it as I took both my kids individually to different Christmas outings this year. My daughter wanted to ride the Polar Express train. My son, he was like all about Sonic 3, so I took him to a screening with me. And he was so hyped. It was so cute. But in his words, it was sick. Like, he was, I think this, like, I took him and my dad just to kind of do a multi-generational guys thing. And we were just looking at him because the movie was silly. I mean, it's silly for me, but it was great for him. And we just watched him. He was on the edge of his seat the whole time. Like, the action scenes, the things, he's still emotionally impacted by the movie. He came and had like a serious man talk with me about his emotional reactions to the end of the movie, where I'm not going to spoil it, but you know, it's a transitional movie where we're ending like one arc of a Sonic trilogy and then, you know, launching, and it's no spoiler, we're already getting Sonic 4. So like, we're beginning a whole new arc. And so not everybody's coming along in the arc. There's some, you know, there's some tie-offs. And he was just like, it's the first time he's had to ever contend with that. He's had like serious man thoughts he's been talking to me about the last few days. It's like, you know, Dad, I'm really sad about this thing in Sonic, but I've had a lot of fun and I really like Sonic, and you know, that's really good. I'm like, oh, like, that's good, buddy. You're like, yeah, that's the way to look at it. But yeah, I mean, what the actual movie, this one's different, and I think it's my least favorite out of the three. Like I said, I've had to watch these movies so many times. But only because we're in this point where the human characters have really fallen back. We have enough of the animated characters, because now Knuckles, Sonic and Tails are all a crew. And that's what this movie's kind of about, them trying to do things as a crew, as opposed to Sonic used to being Sonic. And what happens when you throw somebody like Shadow, who is, you know, way OP compared to them, into that mix, and another hedgehog, and all that means. So yeah, it's a cute story, but like I said, it's just getting to the point where it's just like kind of silly for me, because now it's looking more like a Pixar movie with just animated characters running around. But the action is sick. Like the things they've done to make Sonic and his powers and all of that exciting on screen, this is one of the best video game adaptations by far. And this one looks spectacular. Like the visual effects, there's a point where I just was like, damn, because like it was like Sonic just standing there and he's like charging up, but you just see each individual fur on him begin to like ripple and stuff as the electricity is building up. And I was like, wow, we have come a long way from ugly Sonic. Like this is sick. And like, and the voice cast is just like low key, like one of the best ensemble casts. Like everybody in it's really funny. Even like the people who come in, like Boris Cujo and stuff like that, are hilarious. And the voice cast of like Ben Schwartz has like just owned Sonic. Idris Elba as Sexy Knuckles and Idris Elba's just so low key funny, like with his delivery of Knuckles and what Knuckles understands or doesn't understand about humor and things like that. And of course, you got Keanu Reeves coming in as Shadow. So, like I said, the action sequences are just, especially since there's less human stuff and just these three powered characters in Shadow going at it, is pretty nuts. And yeah, my dad had never seen this. And so when the two Robotniks came out, he was like, "Is this what Jim Carrey's doing now?" I was like, "Dad, Jim Carrey." I was like, "If you read an article, Jim Carrey said, I bought a lot of stuff and I needed some money." So like, yeah, he's doing double Robotniks. My dad was like, okay. But it's funny. Him is playing Robotnik, and Robotnik's grandfather is as stupid and silly Jim Carrey as you could possibly imagine. And they definitely have fun with that dual screen type deal. So yeah, I mean, weirdly enough, as a holiday season blockbuster, Sonic is where it's at. I mean, see this above like Kraven the Hunter or anything else, even to my older superhero fans, like you're probably going to get more bang with your buck with this. So yeah.
We're excited. We're going to go see it because like Ember is a huge Sonic fan. So
Rich
and we watched Rich.
Hey.
Rich has entered the chat.
Yeah, Kobe. I just want to give a shout out to, there's no spoilers, but there's a scene in this movie, man, that's almost like there's a level in Sonic Adventure 2. It's like a boss level. If you played the game, you know what I'm talking about. But like there's a level in that game and they shoot a scene in this movie and it's damn near the same as like the boss battle from the game. And it's so cool. It's like I'm playing Sonic Adventure, but I'm watching it in an updated version. It was just really cool, man. I love the movie. I love the movie in general, but that moment in particular, man, kind of blew me away. There's a lot of moments like that in the movie because they show a lot of homage to just a lot of different Sonic games across the board, not even just Sonic Adventure, but that one stuck out to me the most, man. I enjoyed this movie a lot.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's the real thing. Rich doesn't come on here to deal with us that long, but oh, my earphones died. Awesome. But Rich doesn't come on here that much. But you know, he's here now, and that's the official take right there. So all right, that's Sonic 3. I think we should take a quick break so I can get some new earphones. And when we come back, we got to check in with TV, with Skeleton Crew, Creature Commandos, and we're going to reveal our best movies of the year. So stay tuned. All right, so checking in on the Geek TV front, Skeleton Crew. I'm going to keep this short. Neil. Okay. All right. Yeah, Neil.
Moving on.
Yeah. Seeing Neil get a little romance this episode really kind of was like, I was like, okay, Neil. And Skeleton Crew is kind of like a weird dark horse. We're talking about Superman, like hope and optimism. This is kind of like a show that's bringing adventure and wonder back to Star Wars without any of the burden of kind of the lore on these individual characters. And this was a great episode. I've enjoyed episodes 3 and 4 a lot. This was done by the Daniels, I think, the team who did Everything Everywhere All at Once, episode 4. And it was a great story. I also like that we're getting like a child adventure, but also a mystery that's actually kind of compelling and gets better as a sci-fi mystery. This episode, we learn that Aten is just one such cut-off world, that there are a bunch of these things, and it seems like each version of these planets is a little different. Whereas Aten is this like bureaucratic utopia, at Akron or whatever they land on is this kind of war-torn civil strife world. And so like the mystery of what are all these individual colonies and like why they are is very compelling, as is the kind of never too, it's always kind of obvious enough, but still not fully obvious thing about Jude Law, Crimson Jack, his history with the ship, with Smee, which is a joke, a little pirate joke. Smee, SM-33 is Smee from like, you know, from Peter and Pan and all that. But great character, Nick Frost, great droid character. But SM-33. And I like that they've nailed the Amblin-ness of this, that it's funny. It's like kid heartfelt. Like we get a kid romance story, that this one that never got creepy at all. It was as wholesome as you'd want, like your first love when you were 6, 7, 8, 9 years old with, you know, a girl gave you a kiss on the cheek, or you had some weird summer crush or something, that kind of story. Never creepy at all, always heartwarming, and even scary at times, like at the end when SM-33 goes, you know, batshit on everybody. So I think they're nailing it. I didn't expect to like this series at all, but I'm just like, every time it comes on Tuesday, I get a stupid smile on my face Tuesday evening, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to put on some Skeleton Crew. And it always just makes me feel good by the end of the episode. And like, yeah, making me get up and cheer for somebody like Neil is crazy, for just being like a good guy. I feel like Neil is very Matt coded in certain kinds of ways. Like he's just very kind of like, I feel like you would be him on the adventure. You'd be like, I just want to go home. Like, I don't know. I'm going to shoot anybody.
Now, if I could be,
I don't know, maybe you would shoot everybody. Who knows? You're muted.
If I could be an elephant creature, I would. Like if I could pick.
You're muted, buddy.
Like,
Oh, I can hear him.
Yeah, I can hear him too.
Yeah. If I could be,
can I hear anybody? Am I muted?
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! That's not good.
Those headphones died too.
Oh no! Seeing this in real time, but yeah, no, I think I would also be Neil if I could pick a feeling for this show. Though I agree with Kofi. Like it just makes me happy. The show is just fun, charming. Janelle, are you still digging the show?
Oh yeah, it's adorable. It just puts me in a great mood. Every time it comes on, I'm kind of like Kofi, same. And I keep saying it, but I love it's just so cute during the holidays, you know?
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't have to be a Christmas themed thing, but it's still like kiddo themed. So it's more digestible for me because I usually don't like kiddo based storylines. And yeah, I mean, maybe I'm shifting, y'all. Maybe because I have a baby, maybe I'm finally like into the kid adventure stuff. But I'm like, oh man, I wish I was a kid and I could do something like this. Like it's just it's just a little more lighthearted, and I feel like I really, really need that.
Are you gonna start like an animation?
No, I'm still. We're going to talk about future Commandos, and like, listen, it's such a good show. Like, dude,
That's
it's so
hilarious.
good. But I'm still like, even if it's like the best animation ever, I'm still not super into it.
I
Maybe
think
that'll be like another year.
Yeah,
it's funny because like I'm a little behind on Skeleton Crew, but it's kind of funny in Disney's like Star Wars regime how it seems like all of the stuff that like isn't focused on Jedi and Sith is kind of like coming into its own. Like when it's like Mandalorian, of course. I mean, that did have some Jedi stuff in it, but like Andor, especially, like, oh my god, Andor, so good. And like this and the Skeleton Crew, to have like these shows that really dig into the like, and we've seen it a little bit in the comments where folks are saying like kind of looking at the New Republic and in kind of diving into these new aspects of like what this universe is. Like I remember I was brought into Skeleton Crew, and I'm a couple episodes behind because I just haven't had the time. But like with Skeleton Crew, having the idea of like in a school where you have to pick like who you're going to be for the rest of your life when you're like 10, because you're a part of the great work, which is in and of itself such an interesting idea in general. And like, what if you just want to be a Jedi? Like that's not an option for you. I think that
Right.
is an exceptionally cool kind of way to do it, and that's some interesting storytelling, some aspects of this universe. And of course it kind of goes from there into this bigger universe and like pirates and stuff like that. But yeah, I think they've really kind of nailed this concept. And so like in the future with more Star Wars projects, I hope that Disney is able to kind of look at the success of Mandalorian, the success of Andor, and the success here, and kind of build on that in terms of, hey, this is like there's a Star Wars universe that's open for storytelling in general that's maybe outside of the more traditional Skywalker stuff, the more traditional Jedi versus Sith, and kind of go from there. And I would recommend, as an anime guy, of course, and animation, Janelle, I would say watch Star Wars Visions is great in terms of being able to look at different aspects of the Star Wars universe while also seeing like some of these big major animation studios kind of taking a crack at it. I think like, yeah, there's a wide open universe in the Star Wars world. And I think that they're kind of, digging into it, and it's kind of working for them.
Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, since we're talking about anime, we can slide over to Creature Commandos since the new episode dropped, and that one is pretty intense. How are you guys feeling about this one?
Ooh, man.
I know, Matt, you've already watched all of them, right? So this is the Weasel episode. Evan, have you watched all of them, or are you
I haven't watched all of them, but I've watched all of that have premiered so far. And I think
same.
Yeah. And so like this, it's a very funny dichotomy to see that this week brought us the Superman trailer while simultaneously showing us one of the darkest things that I've seen in recent memory. Weasel's backstory is
Wait, you can't
rough.
remember a couple weeks ago to Dawn?
Oh yeah. Well, no, I'm talking more in terms of even I would say that this Creature Commandos for me was darker than that Dawn to Dawn episode. There is Weasel's backstory is a lot. I mean, it's kind of like it's grim dark in a way that really hit me, just in terms of like the it's a lot to process when it comes to Weasel's backstory and everything. But I think that like again, Gunn has such a good understanding of his universe and kind of working with. It's amazing to see the hopeful optimism of Superman's world while simultaneously looking at the horror and the what can happen in the Creature Commandos. So,
it's
but
horror and trauma for everybody.
yeah, just way darker than the Snyderverse, amazingly. But yeah, no, it's Creature Commandos has really been hitting with me. I think that like being able to make all these characters that are Z-listers in terms of like who knew about G.I. Robot before this, or The Bride, or DC's Frankenstein. Yeah, I've really been enjoying it so far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was really intense. This is, you guys, man, TV and they're out to get me or something. I don't know. Like, I feel so attacked. But yeah, this has been such an incredible show. Like, they're doing such a great job. The storylines are so good. Like, it's just so well done. And poor Weasel. And if I wasn't hosting this podcast, I probably would not continue to watch it just because it is way more emotionally like hard for me to watch. Not even just this week, but like every week has been really intense, and there is gore and this is adult content, but it's it kind of hurts. It kind of hurts to watch sometimes. So I probably would fall off just at this time of year and like pick it back up in January, but since we're covering it, of course I'm staying up to date. So yeah.
Spoilers, still a couple members of the squad to get through in.
I know, dude. I know.
Nobody in this crew is going to come away with a happy story. So yeah. Here we go. I did Creature Commandos. It's good. I think they're good, but I mean, it feels very small compared to something like the Superman thing. But as you said, it's creating it's doing a lot of brushstrokes of important things. We got a big overarching threat tease to the DCU here about who one of the first major villains could be in Gorilla Grodd. And yeah, it flipped the script this week from a protection job to the person we're protecting possibly being, the biggest threat. Good old spy twist. But yeah, the individual stories are crazy. In the Weasel one, I mean, I'm the parent of a autistic nonverbal child, and there's a lot in this episode that kind of really resonates with me because you begin to realize that like Weasel's inability to communicate is kind of the major reason why his life keeps sucking, because he can't simply communicate to people that like, nah, I didn't kill these kids. Like, nah, I'm a good guy. Like, no. And so he's just at the mercy of whatever people perceive about him, which, for a parent like me is a nightmare. So it hits you in the bones. But yeah, just to see just how stupid people can be and just how judgmental this episode did a good job about people's outside judgments, versus what is really going on and how that can all lead to disaster and having poor Weasel pay the price. But like just such a crazy good James Gunn ending to this episode where you still like, it's the most tragic thing is at the end, they're just all looking at him and he's going through it in this trauma. And they're just like, what is he dreaming about? They're like, something stupid probably. And he's just like sitting there freaking out and you feel for him, but getting you to feel for each of these kind of freak, like you said, Z-list characters is what Gunn is essentially practicing. And kind of, working with. And so I trust more when we get to the big ones like Superman that we're going to be in some good hands. All right.
Good point.
Let's see.
Are we doing the thing?
Yeah, let's do the thing. Best movies of the year. Let's go.
Oh, God.
So it's coming down to the end of the year. We're not going to be talking a lot before we get to the end of the year. And we may even have like one episode next week because what's Christmas Wednesday? Yeah, we'll probably have one episode next week to round out for TV. But yeah, it's been quite a year for movies. And let's talk about our favorites of the year. We did comics last episode. So if you missed that, go back to last episode and listen to us talk about Kraven the Hunter and our favorite comics of the year, because that was a great discussion. Happy to have Evan here for this one. He's up first. We're going alphabetical order by first name. So it'll be Evan, Janelle, then myself, then Matthew. And Evan, tell us, what are your favorite movies of 2024?
So this was really tough. And we talked a little bit about it before the episode started, which was like, we had to look at all of the movies that came out this year to kind of get a better idea of what we had done or what movies we had liked. And I will say that like, it was so tough that I wanted to really quickly like say my top 4 and 5 because it's the runners up. Like number 5 for me was
Coward.
I'm being a coward on this. Number 5 was Transformers 1, one of my favorite Transformers movie. I loved it. It was able to do with Cybertron and all that stuff so well, better than any of the live action stuff. Number 4 for me was I Saw the TV Glow. I love that movie. As a kid who grew up with 90s Nickelodeon aesthetic, that nailed that along with a horror aesthetic and kind of like a coming of age. Where does Kraven land on your list? Dead last. But aside from that, my number 3, I will just go ahead. I'll say my number 3 was Furiosa. I loved George Miller's Furiosa, the Mad Max prequel. It actually would have rated a little higher for me had it not had some really questionable CG in some of it. But George Miller is going to George Miller, man. He is amazing in this. I think that they do an exceptional job when it comes to Furios's backstory. It is a kind of one and done amazing adventure that kind of, I wouldn't say it's as good as Fury Road, but it's like right up there. But it's really tough to, Fury Road is like probably in my top 5 movies of all time. So the fact that this is able to come within shooting distance of that is really saying something. My number 2, this will be a weird one for folks. I don't know if everyone has seen this, but my number 2 is The Substance, starring Demi Moore. An absolutely amazing horror movie. It is gross. It is it does some absolutely amazing stuff while doing commentary on the idea of aging in the entertainment industry. It's 2.5 hours long. It's a long watch, but it flows by. It just goes very, very quickly. And my favorite horror movie of the year. It does some amazing stuff. The body horror is insane. All of the acting is amazing. The writing in and of itself, you will walk away from this not feeling great, but it has a strong message and it delivers it in an amazing way. And my number 1, if we want to do a drum roll, please, for number 1. My number 1, Dune 2. Dune 2 is absolutely amazing. Denis Villeneuve, or
He's an Gaib.
Gaib. I am Paul Atreides. And it's really funny because the first Dune did not hit me as much. Like if you look at the director's past movies, I loved Blade Runner 2079, I believe it was. Absolutely love that movie. And I thought Dune 1 didn't hit as hard for me, but Dune 2, everything clicks with me about that movie. All of the acting is amazing. The story goes by super fast. All of the different methods when they're show the villain's world and it's all in black and white. What an amazing decision that is. The guy who played Elvis is an amazing villain in this. Oh my God, I love him in that. He's so creepy and so charismatic at the same time. I cannot wait to see Dune 3 as someone who, like, I almost didn't see Dune in theaters just because, like, the first one didn't hit me as hard. But yeah, I love this movie. Easily my top choice of the year. Yeah, that's it for me. Very fast, very quick.
Yeah, Fayette Rotha was played by Austin Butler, who will be
Austin Butler. Yeah.
Be our new Patrick Bateman. And
yeah, new American Psycho. I think he can do it easily from what I saw in Dune 2.
Yeah, that Dune 2 got him that part. All right, Janelle, hit us. What were your top movies of the year?
Okay, so I think I'm going to piss people off, and I'm also the grenade girl this week. So I will say so this one's fine, but number 3 is Hitman on Netflix. I kind of sung the praises on that one when it first dropped.
Do you have an honorable mention? If you got an honorable mention, go.
I do. I was going to save it for last because I feel like you guys are going to scream your heads off.
All right, you got it then. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Especially you, Kofi, is great. So my number 3 was Hitman on Netflix. I was actually a really big fan of that from the jump. I watched it with my parents. I watched it with my husband, had a good time. Just an easy, fun watch, and God, he can do no wrong. My number 2, this is going to be surprising, but I feel like Matt will be proud of me. Inside Out 2.
Oh.
Yeah, this was such a wholesome, lovely. I love how I just talked crap about animation, but
I know, right?
There's something so special about, Disney doing animation. It's like the only way that I want to watch my animation. It was so great. Like the representation of anxiety, and there's like a line in there talking about, joy is falling apart. And she goes, well, maybe this is what happens when you become an adult. Like there's way less joy in your life. And I'm like, oh my God, like it's just like, it hits really, really hard. And I feel like so many people have been struggling with anxiety, and it's just such a good representation of that. And like, it has such a beautiful message for any age, for kids, but for also adults. So I just thought it was like a really poignant movie. My number 1 should not be surprising, but it's Deadpool Wolverine. I absolutely loved this film. I would say it's probably moved into my top 2 favorite MCU films of all time. obsessed. I love this movie so much. Now I get it because I watched it with my husband, who is not like a diehard, comic book nerd person, and he's like, I don't get it. Like, he's like, it's not that good. It's kind of good. And I'm like, okay, I don't think you're understanding all the references and all of the callbacks and all of the humor and all of the jokes. Like, so for me, dude, this has just risen to the top. My honorable mention, oh God, Kobe's going to be so mad at me. My honorable mention, and I have to say this, is because I saw it in the theater and I had a blast with my friends and I just enjoyed it, was Venom: The Last Dance.
Why would I get so upset about that? I'm not.
Well, you definitely went in hard when you reviewed it because you saw it before.
Yeah, you didn't like it.
So I had.
I didn't, but I mean, but I've also seen Craven since then. And I also
that's true.
And so I know that Venom, out of the 3 Sony movies, Venom: The Last
The
Dance,
bar has dropped. The ball.
I actually really liked it. I thought it was a really lovely end to our time with Venom, and the way that he goes out is just like heart-wrenching and impactful, and I had a really good time. Were there flaws? Yes, there were flaws, but I really enjoyed going there, seeing Tom Hardy and just finishing out this with kind of somewhat of an emotional Venom moment. So yeah.
Great list.
Okay, those are Janelle's picks up on the screen, and from the comments, oh baby, I've done this podcast for 6 years. I have not even begun to find my buttons to even push. So relax. I'm up.
Oh God,
my buttons.
I do this to myself.
My buttons. Get that P. I'll get the P. Pablo out on you.
It's a good song.
Yeah. Oh, buddy. Sierra, little P. Pablo. We will get into it. All right. So I'm up. I'll start with my honorable mention. First of all, I was like Evan. I'm not going to take the coward's way out. There were a lot of fighting to get in these last slots of my thing. I mean, yeah, I had to do the Deadpool Wolverine consideration. I had to do the Substance was one. I kept reworking this list of trying to get the Substance, and I was just like, I just can't leave off the things I put on here. But I want to say, and just take a sidebar, that for horror thrillers, this was a remarkable year of inventiveness.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking of you, Kofi. When I was looking at all these lists, I was like, God, horror just dominated.
Yeah, no, there were so many inventive things. Smile 2 came out of nowhere and really just destroyed that first one and was a killer movie. Even things like Long Legs, but a Violent Nature, The Substance. One of my low-key favorites, It's What's Inside on Netflix, that movie. Really, if you've ever had a big group of friends, that one did disturbing things to my head. So a great year for innovative horror and thrillers and stuff like that. But I'm also, to be fair, and to give you context, right now, me and Charlie Ridgely are in the critics crunch right now because we're part of the Music City Film Critics Association. So we also have to watch every Oscar bait movie right now between Thanksgiving and Christmas. We have to watch, everything. So I've watched everything in the last 2 weeks. I'm deeply in, so I have recency bias. I want to tell you that Baby Girl and The Brutalist and Nickel Boys are my favorite things of the year, but that's all because I've just been watching this stuff, recently. So in balancing, Cinema Nation and Comic Book Nation, there's also Alien Round. And there was a lot this year. So that's all to say. Here's my list. At honorable mention, I'm putting up Bad Boys, Ride or Die.
Oh, yeah.
Will Smith and Martin Lawrence coming back and delivering, getting that buddy cop action comedy series back to some of its biggest heights was nowhere on my bingo card. I thought this franchise is slowly petering out. I liked Bad Boys for Life, fine enough. But I was like, it ain't the same. Bad Boys Ride or Die brought it back. It was one of the biggest crowd pleasers. I kept going for its entire theatrical one when I had screenings, and I'd be done a screening. I'd pop into one of those showings, not to even see it again, but just to watch the crowd and just see how the crowd reacted to Reggie's scenes and all these other scenes. And that was a crowd pleasing movie. And there's a theme you'll see in some of my picks this year about the actual, we're so back to just big movies in the theater that need a theater, that are crowd pleasings, that bring people together in cinematic experience, are like gold to me now. So Bad Boys Ride or Die was my honorable mention. My number 3 movie, and I can't believe I'm the only one who seemed to remember this, is my personal contender for the Oscar for animated movie of the year. It is not Inside Out 2. It is The Wild Robot. The Wild Robot, starring Lupita Nyong'o and based on the children's book. I went into this thinking like, oh, DreamWorks has done some pretty amazing stuff. How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda, like all their big Shrek, all their franchises. But you forget how good that studio is at telling stories. The animation style, Lupita Nyong'o, and just the robot, the design of the robot, what it could do, how it interacted, and those scenes between it and nature were hilarious. If you are a parent, this movie is everything to you. There is such a dark level of humor to it, which I appreciate. It's so cool for the kids to see. But for your parent, if you're a parent, this is a dark comedy for you. Like, it is about the grueling nature of parenting, how much it costs, how much you sacrifice, and how much your kids can be little bastards when they become their own people and just live to kind of like make your life nuts and to go at you even though you're just trying to be their parent. And so this was very timely for me. It really hit me in a parenting bone. The possum character played by Catherine O'Hara alone could have her own spinoff movie. And it was just great and well done. So that's my number 3. My number 2 is, like Evan, The Lisan El Gaib was my number 2. And like I said, the theme is things that made us say we are so back. And Dune 2 came out so early in the year. It always feels like last year, but it was this year. But we went to see that in IMAX. I immediately grabbed my dad, my brother. It's the only movie I've gone back to see twice this year, and went back with them. And we were all just like, yes, this is why we go to the movies. This is something I can't get at home. Like, I need to be in that IMAX when that sandworms comes and I'm hearing the thumping and the sounds and all of that. And like you said, if Timothée Chalamet was not a star before, he is now. Zendaya did her thing. Javier Bardem is the meme king of 2024 as far as I'm concerned. And it was a heavy competition year for memeing. But the Lisan El Gaib. And just even stripping down all of the craziness of those Dune books, Frank Herbert's Dune mythology, to just give us a story about, faith, political manipulation, false idols and ideologies, and what motivates us, and the plight of kind of like native people compared to these big overarching kind of power systems and governments and stuff. I don't think it could be more timely. I don't even think Denis knew how much that movie would resonate right about now, but Dune 2 is a milestone sci-fi blockbuster that we are going to be seeing for many, many years. And yeah, it was spectacular. And it made me fall in love with the movies again, of movie magic. And number 1, you guys are not going to understand this yet. And I went through heavy review of this because, again, recency bias. I don't want to. So I sat down and watched it again just to see if I was still on point. And I am. My number 1 is Nosferatu. Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. It'll be out on Christmas Day. You guys will be able to see it next week. I'm a closet like vampire kid. I'm like Guillermo in What We Do in the Shadows when I was growing up.
Oh, dude, that
in my chubby middle school phase, I was just obsessed with books. I read Buffy the Vampire Slayer when it was first released on bookshelves. Like, I read all kinds of vampire series. I'm scary vampires. I'm not glittery. I'm a 40. I'm from the goth Gen X, like European horror school of vampires. And I was also a film student, like, for a while. So I was a real film school student for a while. So yeah, I've had to do the original Nosferatu, the research, the frame by frames, and really look at that movie. And Robert Eggers has been just kind of quietly building to become a new maestro of horror, this entire time. And even if you feel like his things are dry or just very, I forget what serene, or just kind of like very dry and sterile, like, he is very good about creating imagery and things that will haunt you for like all time. That scene in Witch with the baby at the edge of the forest haunts me to this day. Janelle, never see that movie if you haven't. But yeah, that sequence and other things in the lighthouse. And he's just the Northman. I was talking about the Northman with 2 of my friends because one hadn't seen it. And we were like, how are you still functional if you haven't seen the craziness that is the Northman? And this movie is his masterpiece. Like Bram Stoker's Dracula was my goth, horror vampire icon for most of my life. But I think this is going to replace it because this is very much a stage play, Victorian stage play, but in a very dark, gnarly horror setting. And those two things kind of coming together is really interesting to see. There are images and shots in this that are just, the entire movie is, I think, up for Oscar for like direction, cinematography, and all of that, because it is insane how good it is and how well it's shot and how beautiful the imagery is. Performances like Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, the Nosferatu, but even things like Nicholas Hoult, our new Lex Luthor, Aaron Taylor Johnson, our Kraven the Hunter, Emma Corrin, who was Cassandra Nova, and Lily Rose Depp, who did, 2024's most infamous TV show, The Idol, all turn in really great performances. And it is crazy because half these people are in movies that were like either superhero fluff and stuff, but in this, they're doing, deep dive, and it's psychological horror because Eggers gets into Nosferatu as a metaphor for disease, terrible times, all of that. And it's pretty nuts. And it's all familiar. The beats of it, the ship ride over, they did Voyage of the Detmer about that, the Renfield character, but it's all new. And Willem Dafoe as the Van Helsing character, all excellent. And this is Robert Eggers' best work yet, which is saying something. So yeah, my favorite of the year is Nosferatu. And I think between that and Dune 2, they make a case for blockbusters and big movies that are also going to be awards contenders and art house favorites. So that's me list.
Man, that's a great list. Now, man,
a lot of range in that. A lot of range.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's some comments too that like you got some people excited to see Nosferatu.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll make my top 3. I'm glad I'm seeing it next week. So
yeah, no, Nosferatu was good. All right, so that's it. We did. Oh no, Matt. Sorry, buddy.
Matt. We gotta go with Matt.
That's rude. That's so rude. I thought you did it on purpose. I was like, you suck. Okay. So I did not submit a honorable mention, and I honestly forgot. I didn't want to submit one if no one had, and so then now that everyone has, okay. So there was one, and Kofi brought up. We have a mini crossover here because my honorable mention. It was almost in the top 3. I really had to sit and debate about what that third spot on my list was. And The Wild Robot was my honorable mention. That movie was fantastic. It actually took me a little longer to watch it because like I kept trying to shoehorn it into family movie nights. And no one was feeling it other than me, right? I was like, oh my God, you watch that trailer and not be whatever. And he's like, and then we would always pick something else. So then I just ended up one day like, okay, I'm just gonna watch it on my own. I have like this spot of time. Oh my God, wonderful movie. Like there should on top of just the obvious, like the animation is just beautiful, it's stunning. I mean, just the locations and everything that they create. But on top of that, just the interactions between the characters, the almost like a meta-ness of it, and what Kofi was hitting on with kind of the dark humor of parenting. There's just some really great things about it. I would recommend it wholeheartedly, and it almost made my top 3. But what did make my top 3 was number 3 is another crossover. I actually only have one on my list now that I look at it that isn't a crossover with someone. This is a crossover with Evan because Transformers 1 got slept on. All right, that movie did not do what it should have done at the box office. People slept on that movie. That was fantastic. It was what I was hoping it would be when they first gave us the trailers, and I know it took people a minute to kind of get used to the voices, and that we're kind of diving into Cybertronian history here, and not retconning, but redoing some things and tweaking some things. But I just thought the choices they made when it came to Optimus and Megatron and how we see them become them, that journey was rewarding. To fit that into one, it's just obviously the preamble, right? But just to fit most of that into one movie is impressive. The fact that they delivered that and you were connected. and I thought they just did a great job. Also, Keegan-Michael, he's Bumblebee. I was like, just phenomenal. So good. The number 2 on my list was actually one I was trying to diversify a little bit and go, okay, I don't want everything on my list to be of a certain type. So I was like, let me really try and nail down a movie that stuck with me. And Woman of the Hour is the one that did, because for me, I know, I'm surprised. That movie really stuck with me. I think one of the things I always take away from a movie, either a biopic or a movie that's based on a true story like this one is that if you get me to be so compelled by what you put on screen that I then go hunt for the real story, and I go and like dive into videos about, oh, here's all the things, here's all the details that were changed, and then actually go and watch videos of the people who it's based on, and then go see their stories and find all of the details about the story you just presented. And there are changes. It makes changes to the story of, Akala and the whole dating game thing, and they made changes, but like, to me, they were all actually very smart changes, and changes that made it a better movie. And then, hey, if you want to know the full story, like, go here. There's like a whole scene in that movie, and it's one of the scenes me and Kofi talked about when we briefly talked about it on the show. That's not real. That did not happen. The whole confrontation in the parking lot never happened. But the fact that they created this whole scene, and it's one of the most, it is the tense moment of the movie, and that wasn't based on they just pulled it from a thing. They just created that because okay, here's what we kind of feel like needs to happen. Anna Kendrick just did an amazing job directing her first movie, and then of course starring in it. So it stuck with me. And I've like also I gotta say, Daniel Zavato's performance as Alcala is phenomenal. Like the way he's able to switch from being this charismatic, laid back person to on a dime just this sinister, it's phenomenal. So yes, I would recommend that, and it's on Netflix. So hey, everyone can go see it if you have Netflix. And number 1 is Inside Out 2. This was the easiest number 1. Gladiator 2, so many elements. I told you I didn't submit one.
Looks like you did.
Amazing. So I have not seen Gladiator 2 yet, but I do kind of want to see it. Inside Out 2 is was easy. I knew this one before anything else. I had to actually go and figure out, okay, what's going to be my number 2 and 3. Inside Out 2 I have watched at this point probably 5 or 6 times. And we saw it in the theater. It was Ember's first movie. And we saw it in the theater, and it was just like Kofi's kind of talking about. I love hearing you talk about like when you took your son to go see Sonic, right? There's just something that comes from that experience, and you're watching them. You're kind of like watching the movie for yourself, but you're also watching it vicariously through them and seeing their reactions and everything. It just makes a very special experience. And like seeing Ember already loved the first Inside Out. So the fact that we saw Inside Out 2, we saw it on the big screen. She was just like dazzled by all of that. It's such a gorgeous movie, but then all of the new characters, and also then you start really getting into the layers of the story it's telling. And I agree with Janelle. Like, this is another crossover, right? And the way it depicts anxiety is just brilliant. From all of the things of the seeking out to protect, it's not viewed as a negative emotion, right? Those emotions aren't there. They can be positive or negative. And the way it dives into, it's just trying to protect, but it goes awry. And the whole ending sequence, where it's like trying to calm the storm and joy. There's just so much to that movie. And I find something new every single time I watch it. And it doesn't get old. I mean, I'll have to check back in and see if it hits Moana status of I can watch that thing 90 times and I still enjoy it. But it's already on its way there. And I cannot say enough. So yeah, that is my top 3 movies of the year with my honorable mention.
All right. So let's dive into some comics real quick.
Yeah.
So,
let's see. Do you want to start with oh, we got a couple things in here. Hey, look at you. What do you want to start with, Kofi?
Go with just what's on the list, I guess. My earphones are
Okay.
dying.
Okay. So let's start with I'm very curious actually because I did not assign this one TVA number 1, but I just saw it and thought it was so like, oh well, this is like right up Janelle's alley, and I even threw it in
I
there.
didn't
I was
read
like,
it yet. I was so
okay.
busy trying to read the other two.
No worries, no worries. So what I will say is you can read my long form review on Comic Book. But this one very much we have a excellent article that's basically like this is the Loki season 3 this is as close as we might get to a Loki season 3 in this, because TVA number 1 kind of takes everything that happened after Loki season 2. It's set after that, but then also factors in, does the things that a comic can do and the MCU can't right now, which is, the MCU can't, bring in certain characters that haven't been established yet into the TVA all of a sudden, right? And here we get Spider-Gwen, we get Ghost Spider. I will never get used to calling her Ghost Spider. Because Spider-Gwen, we get some fun characters brought in. We get this, I won't spoil. There's one appearance that I won't spoil because Janelle hasn't read it and I want her to see that. So they bring in characters that, again, you can't right now bring into the MCU. So it plays in the sandbox that a comic can, and then also brings in, you get all your familiar faces from Loki. You get everybody's in there aside from Renslayer, like everybody else is kind of in the mix, and even Mobius is in the mix. So I think it walked that line really, really well, and that's not easy to do. So I'm excited for Janelle to read that. Evan, did you get a chance to read this one?
No, I didn't, but I'm actually, for the site, I've been reviewing Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider, or maybe it's Ghost Spider Spider-Gwen. I can't remember, but Stephanie Phillips has been doing a good job with that series, and that's kind of like building up that's a lot of TVA stuff in that.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of cool. I just haven't gotten the chance to dive into TVA.
They reference that
like
in here.
Well, they do reference that in there.
Yeah, they reference that
cool.
because the reason she's brought in is actually tied directly to that. So nice. Yeah, if you haven't read that, but you've been keeping up with her other book, you should be right at home. Kofi, did you have thoughts on TVA? By the way, we are keeping there's one person we are keeping that spoiler free because Janelle hasn't read.
Yeah, I mean, it's good concept. It's easy to see why it applies. It's a little too wordy in this first issue. Yeah, there's a lot of exposition in this one, and it's just kind of like, I think that I'm just wondering if the dynamic that works on something like Loki season 2 can translate to a comic, because seeing that banter in real life is one thing, trying to read through it in speech bubbles is another. But we are getting some interesting new characters, that's for sure, and that's all I'll say.
Yeah, let's get to Ultimate Spider-Man number 12, ringing in the year with a wonderful
ass Nolan movie here.
Boy, this really is because it feels like one book, and then
you pull off a trick that I haven't seen since Matthew Vaughn's Layer Cake, like where I immediately had to go back and read the book again a second time as soon as I was done, because I was like, they couldn't have. And I was like, wow, like they did, like, man,
they sixth sensed us.
Yeah,
I was going to say that I was reminded of the Thunderbolts, the original Thunderbolts reveal. For this is one of the greatest shocks I've seen, and like Kofi said, like it demands you read it again to be like, I completely missed it. I didn't even take it. Like I didn't see that it was happening, and it was in plain sight the entire time.
And
so good.
Shout out to Hickman, man. Way to end the year.
Janelle, what did you think about that one?
I thought it was great. I mean, honestly, I've loved all the comics you guys have been throwing at me lately, and am I just getting better at reading comics, or is everybody stepping up their game? Or like, I don't know. I've really been digging everything that we've been reading, which is weird because usually I'm more critical.
Yeah. I think it's been a very sneaky good year for comics. I think like about midway through the year, like I did hear some like, oh, it's been okay. I was like, what comics are you?
Dude, I
reading?
feel like
I was like, what are
so
you talking about?
fire.
It's
Yeah.
already been great. And then we got into the final 3 months where it's been the absolute stuff. It's been all these like Image comics have really hit, a great stride. So like, it was already a good year. It was a sneaky good year, but then the last 3 months, like really just like threw a bunch of stuff on the fire and went, yeah, no, this is great.
Totally.
So yeah, let's get to Absolute Batman number 3, like the first comic Kofi reads every single month it's out.
The meaty boy, meaty Bruce Wayne, big
Because
Bruce
it's so
Wayne.
good.
Call him
It's
Beefy
so
Bruce
good.
over here.
Kofi, what'd you think of Absolute Batman? Is the train still moving?
I mean, the Batmobile's moving, homie. We don't even need a train. We got a dump truck. That's a speed car.
I love that
submarine.
sequence,
Holla
man.
at me.
That was great.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, Absolute Batman is still at the top. I've loved all the Absolute Universe stuff, but no, I love this the most. Still, the artwork, the storytelling, and this issue, what they've done to kind of slightly tweak Batman is super interesting. Putting Bruce in new socioeconomic and kind of familial context, what that's done to him and changed him and made him more like street level himself, and what this issue does for creating both literally and figuratively what this new kind of mythos of Batman is going to be is really interesting. And where we get by the end of the issue from the beginning, each issue is a good arc of a story. So the beginning of the issue is just a conversation with Alfred and Batman where he's trying to get Batman to compromise and do stuff. And Batman's like, whatever, man. And where we get to by the end of that issue is fascinating and is a fascinating take on Batman. A Batman who compromises is going to be interesting to see. And I am super interested in this. But yeah. And just seeing Martha, Jim, and like these other, like what I like about this one so much more so than the other books, I think, is that it's more like Ultimate Spider-Man, in which I'm getting not just this new version of Batman, but all of these other characters and how they're like Martha Kent banging Jim Gordon is like interesting, but kind of also very uncomfortable. Like, I'm just like, that's not, no, like, no. But yeah, it's a great world. In the thing with Alfred, these different organizations and like all this stuff happening is really interesting. And just even scenes with him and his rogues gallery, like Edward Nygma.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that was great.
Eddie being like, I am smart enough. Please don't ask me questions that you don't want me to know about.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
that
such
whole
a good
conversation
moment.
is fantastic. Like, and so it's a whole ass world and I'm loving it. And it's hard to do that because Batman, we've seen so many different Batman worlds. And so that this one is working is special.
The theater moment for me was that rogues gallery moment, right? When they make him go to this thing and we're gonna watch a movie, and you just see all of these villains that you're so conditioned to, like this antagonistic relationship between these people. You just see that friendship really like cements there. Like they've been talking about it. You've seen that they're still in his life and stuff, but that scene to me like crystallizes like what they've been trying to get across and the difference in relationship. And the Selena stuff at the beginning, you're starting to see that brought in, right? And that was a very sweet moment. It's the work that Snyder is doing in the past, and we always praise this with like Hickman does this all the time, right? We see that, and Williamson has done a great job in Superman, some other things of that layering thing, and we see that here, and it pays off. Janelle, how are you feeling about this one?
Dude, I love this villain, man.
Yes,
he's so creepy and weird, and I'm loving the skulls and the helmets, and like I love that we get to know like what the motivation for all of this is now, like why people are participating in it, and with the coin, like the cryptocurrency and stuff like that. We got a lot of information in this one, and it was all laid out in a really nice way, like very easily digestible and really cool. Like it's very current. So yeah,
I also like that the mysteries aren't so heavy to ever distract, but they are still waiting in the wings. Like, we have potential for that Roman Sionis and this Black Mask reveal to be something twisted on what we know. Yeah. And like also still something with Joker and what that's all about. And this version of Joker being a super serious kind of man of wealth and mystery and like stuff. So Janelle's got to go. She's on baby time. Janelle, Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I'll see you guys next
here
week. I
all
can't
year.
wait. Give me all the comics to read.
Okay, yeah, we will. That'll be our present to you. I gotta holler at you out there. So I have something I gotta finally drop off for the holidays.
Oh yeah,
offline. Yeah, but thank you for coming on, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys. Happy holidays. Okay, bye.
Yeah, and so like the mysteries of this world are still waiting to be unveiled. Who Alfred works for, what Joker is compared to that, who is behind Black Mask and all that. And I feel like we're gonna get some surprises, and it's gonna be a good twist and turn type deal. So yeah, I'm still. I mean, if you aren't reading Absolute Batman, get on it.
Yeah, and I saw in the comments that some folks were asking like, how long is this going to go? And I remember, and I was actually shocked by this because Jason Aaron talked about Absolute Superman, and he was like, "Yeah, I have like 100 issues planned." I'm like, "Oh, really? Oh, it's going to go for that long?" Like there, and especially the success that DC has seen with the Absolute line. Yeah, this is sticking around for
let's
a
not
minute.
go backwards.
And
You got a
guess what?
pocket
Next
universe
year-
I want to play in. And we are just starting. Take it slow. Do not rush it. Build every single one of these stories and characters up. Eventually have them meet. Eventually have a big event, but we don't need to rush it.
And they've already teased that, right? Like they've already planted the seeds. Wonder Woman, is already referencing like, oh, like there's others, and
they have
there's things.
They already have announced Absolute Martian Manhunter, Absolute Flash, and I believe Absolute Green Lantern. And like, I'm very excited to see all of these, all these characters getting together is going to be so weird. Like a Justice League with these guys is like, I can't even imagine.
And that's
Absolute Green Lantern looks amazing.
Like that Martian Manhunter cover was crazy. Let's just do like Batman and Superman meeting for the first time. Like what's that all about? Like,
that's gonna be wild.
Yeah. So
I cannot wait for Wonder Woman and Batman
here?
to meet.
I'm going to say, shout out to Netflix this year. And my top movies I was looking through, Netflix did a good job. I don't think we've praised Netflix for how many good like original movies they actually dropped this year. There have been some pretty exciting ones. I just watched Carry On with Taron Egerton.
Yeah, I got to see that. Yeah,
Subservience with Megan Fox, which, Christ, Megan Fox, whoever hired. As soon as you hire that, I mean, it is. I love that movie because it's a funny sight gag. It's like essentially a sight gag. It's like, what if you bought a home robot, but it looked like Megan Fox? Like, what would happen? Like, not good for your home life. Like, I watched that. There was that one, the horror, the kind of thriller movie about the lady who gets the paralyzing drug. That was really good.
Oh yeah. They don't speak, I think, or something.
It's like don't move or don't speak.
Don't move.
Like that.
Yeah.
That was fantastic as well. Like Netflix has low key been keeping us entertained with home entertainment movies this year. And, I'm going to shout them out because there've been nights that I've just been like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I go on Netflix. I'm like, what is this new trending movie? And I turn it on and I thought I would take a peek at Carry On. And I was there for the whole time.
Also, I liked Atlas. I know I'm like one of them. I liked Atlas.
Atlas. I liked Atlas too. Like I had fun.
I liked Atlas.
Netflix is the only place to get those like mid-budget genre movies now, like where we just get back to a classic thriller or a comedy. Remember those comedies? Like,
they used to exist.
Yeah. Shout out to Netflix for all the streaming wars and stuff this year. Netflix is doing a good job just financing actual like mid-budget movies that are fun to watch. Even Hot Frosty. All right.
Hot Frosty, I gotta add that to the they've got like four Christmas movies that I have to add. The Lindsay Lohan one.
Yeah, even I gotta jump on
that.
Netflix this year.
But before we get there, we gotta end with Marvel Rivals. I've been so excited to talk Marvel Rivals because I'm currently on my fourth MVP.
Nice, buddy.
Yeah, I'm just.
Go ahead, Matt.
Who's Matt maining? Who are you maining, Matt?
I'm Jeff the Shark. Jeff is my main.
So everybody can judge you.
I am a healer. I am a supporter. That is what I do. And you know what? I'm getting pretty good at it. I gotta say, like, I'm getting pretty good at. I like the support roles in these type of games. I tried Overwatch, and while it was fun and I found some characters, I was like, I kind of dug. It did not hook me, right? And I fell off, like super fell off. And then Overwatch 2 came out and I tried to jump in and it fell off again.
You
So like there's just it wasn't able to do it. Then Marvel Rivals got announced, and I went, okay, Overwatch, basic premise, Overwatch with a Marvel skin. All right, well, here's the thing. If some of the game, I already trended towards support roles in Overwatch anyway. But I was like, okay, well, that should be fun, right? There's a lot of characters. And once the roster got revealed and it was 33 characters and all that, I was like, okay.
So crazy.
We got a shot to find someone that clicks. There's a lot of people. I love the art design, the style, it all looked great. So then you play this thing, and the first game I played, absolute chaos. Oh, what the hell's happening? Things are flying everywhere. Things are flying everywhere. I'm getting hit from like I don't even know where, right? And it feels like you jump in and then like you barely have some time to attack. And so then I went, okay, you know what? I was dumb. I should go do the practice stuff. I should go do the training. Let me do the tutorial. Let me go do all that stuff. So I did. I went through the whole path and then like really start to play around with the characters and their unique abilities and stuff and got a feel for people and then dove in. That made such a humongous difference. That's what it's there for, folks, right? But that made such a humongous difference. And what I think this game does really well, I've heard the complaints about overpowered and the complaints about balancing and things like that. But to me, when you can go through a list and go like, well, this character's overpowered and this character's overpowered. And when it ends up being like half the roster that is being hit as overpowered, then that becomes not really, oh, that character's overpowered. That just means they're all overpowered. And you just have to like find that rhythm, right? So it kind of almost evens the playing field from that. It's not really a negative. It just is like everyone is OP in this game if they're in the right hands, and ultimates hit hard. I've been destroyed by Magnetos. I don't know how many times, right? But people complaining about Jeff and he can swallow up people, which that's amazing. Swallowing up 5 people and then spitting them out over the side of the map. Good. Amazing.
When you hear in the background pure chaos and like you're just like, oh, for Scarlet Witch is about to do her thing. Oh man.
Oh my god. And it kills. It absolutely destroys. Hawkeye's ultimate is phenomenal. Being able to essentially create still mirror images that you just pelt with arrows and destroy. And you don't even have to hit the main character. Like everyone has that. So then it becomes just like, okay. It then really just becomes about leaning into someone that you like and figuring out their play style. But like, that's just the game to me. Right. And I don't know. I feel like that's become more of that's not really become a negative. That's just become like, that's its thing. Everybody is overpowered. It's crazy. Well, exactly. This is Sturdy puts it exactly right. Like it's a level playing field because that's the way. That's how, for kind of the broad overview, Evan, what have you found from just jumping into the game? You're maining someone that I want to be good with and I suck at. So
yeah, I'm currently maining Moon Knight. Shout out Jim Viscardi. Unrelated to it, I just really love how Moon Knight plays. But I also tend to go into Mantis a lot. But when we need a healer, as well as if we're doing tank, I'll usually vary between Venom and Thor, depending on if we have a Hela and a Loki on the team. That's another thing that's so amazing about this game. Like, it's clearly an Overwatch. Like, it's Overwatch in some respects, but also, like, the team-up stuff is really amazing. Yes. And that's something that you have to really take into consideration when you're putting together your team or what have you. But one thing that I have to mention about this is that, like, aside from the artistic and the aesthetic, which like just looks amazing to look at, like if you're watching this, you can really see how this game looks. But one of the things that works so well here is that the queue for any game is like under 10 seconds. Like you can instantly get into a new game. There's no waiting at all, which I was amazed by opening night because I was getting in with some friends of mine on the PS5. And one of the things that we noticed is that like you never wait longer than 10 seconds, which is insane for any game, let alone on opening night. You are instantly jumped into a game. There's no waiting at all. The action is amazing. the progression, the having to hit your dailies and your weeklies and your like monthlies or whatever. The battle pass is fantastic. Yeah, it just works amazingly well. I am loving this game. I think that they've already said that they have a roadmap that they're going to do for this, so they're going to add on all the already 33 characters. There have been some leaks of characters that are coming. I won't say necessarily what those characters are going to be, but they're out there if you want to see. And every character plays, there's something to be found in every character. And honestly, I haven't had the chance to try every character yet because there's 33 of them. And like, I haven't dove into Squirrel Girl. I haven't dove into I've tried I haven't dove into Namor yet. I tried like Scarlet Witch, I've tried Cloak and Dagger, but not as much as I'd like. But like, there's so many characters. The game is so good. And I can't wait to see it like progressively get bigger and bigger and bigger from from where it is right now. Because man, is it
you
good.
Brought it up. Those team up attacks are huge. I have, and that really comes down to like who you're playing with. Like I'm playing with a lot of randoms just because of the times I play. And you know, you'll get the round where you get like 4 duelists, and you're like, all right, like this is gonna suck. Maybe this might suck, right? Because it's like no big heavies. You might get, you know, he's like maybe you'll get a Cap or a Thor. And then I'm Jeff. In those situations, I go, okay, I'm Jeff. I need to be the healer. I need to be the strategist.
Focus on tanks.
Yeah, I gotta do this thing, right? But when there's a Groot, oh my God, my life becomes instantly better because like one of the team up attacks is obviously Rocket can do it, but so can Jeff. And Jeff can hop on, and Jeff hops on the top of his head. And what's amazing is that it's not only just for a stat, like it looks amazing. Just the fact that you can go, and it's so easy to pull off too. And I gotta say, the team ups overall work so well that like they're only one person they're one person dependent. So like as long as Luna is with me and on the map, I can activate. Like Jeff has a team up with her where she like he essentially activates like this ice boost or whatever. I can just hit a button and activate. I don't require anything from her other than just being her. Same with Groot. All I have to do is hit circle. And I automatically attach to him. Yeah. And then what's awesome is the way Jeff's healing works. He just, you know, he's always just like spitting water, right? You can aim it down and you're hitting Groot because Groot's little branches and stuff are so tall. So I heal the guy I'm riding as we go through the map, right? I'm healing him in real time. And then I can throw out bubbles and heal the rest of the team. And then I can also attack. And it like becomes this just giant force. It's amazing watching Hulk run around with Wolverine.
Oh, so good. Do a fastball special and you're able to, oh man, yeah.
It's amazing.
This is another thing that I really love about this game is that it knows the comics really well, like to a surprising extent. There's one instance that I always point to when I'm thinking about that, and it's when Hela kills a Hulk on an opposing team and says, "Give Brian Banner my regards." And I'm like, "Whoa, she just pulled out a reference to the Bruce Banner's dad in this." That's amazing. And I will say, like, for folks, number one, like the way that I sell this game, because I have sold it to a lot of my friends who like don't play the games that often. If you have a PS5, you have an Xbox, or you have a computer that can handle this, it's free. Number one, it's free. Number two, as we mentioned, like 33 characters, I'll always tell people like try with the Punisher first, because the Punisher to me is the easiest,
so good.
The easiest character of any of them. If you've played any shooter before, you played Call of Duty, you played Overwatch, where you took on Soldier 76. You'll instantly be able to pick up Frank Castle. He's the easiest one, and then from there you kind of figure out like you kind of try from some of the other characters. I think Hela is another easy one to kind of pull off, as well as, you know, Venom's very easy in terms of, I think Venom's like the easiest tank. And then you kind of go from there. You go into characters like Doctor Strange, you go into Iron Man, you go into
dude, Winter Soldier is super easy.
Oh yeah, Winter Soldier is super easy. And if you want to try to get really good, and let me tell you, because we've seen when I go up against a player who knows how to use Spider-Man, and oh man, he is a menace. J. Jonah Jameson was right. Spider-Man is a menace on these streets.
Oh my god, you know, Iron Fist.
Iron Fist. I have Iron Fist. I'm trying to get better with Star-Lord. At the moment, Star-Lord's really good. But yeah, there's so many characters. Like there's so much in-depth like stuff to do. And I think I'm almost at level 20 right now, but I got that battle pass and I've almost finished it.
I bought it too.
Yeah. Because it's so I can't wait to see what they're gonna do with this. The sky is the limit in terms of Marvel characters that they can use. I mean, just the fact when I saw that they announced Cloak and Dagger, I was like, okay, they're digging deep.
When they said Cloak and Dagger and Squirrel Girl, I went, all right, you're serious. Okay,
we might see Darkhawk. I think Darkhawk.
Wouldn't that be amazing if we saw Darkhawk and he would rule too? Because like you could glide and you could shoot the beam.
He would be like
the Raptor stuff.
He'd be like a combination of Iron Man and Moon Knight. And you slap them together and everything. He has a shield that comes out of the jewel in his chest. Come on now. Come on.
Lost my mind. I lost my mind for a second. All right. Well, with that, yes. One thing is coming up. Did you before we head out here? Did you already buy a skin?
Yes, I bought Venom's anti-venom skin because that was the first one that I bought. I'm that Star-Lord one where he's the Lord of the Sun or whatever, the Sun Lord. That looks amazing. I might buy that. I might buy the Thor Love and Thunder skin because that looks really fantastic. Yeah, this game is it has a lot to offer.
Yeah. I bought the Jeff the Shark dolphin skin.
Oh, dude, that looks so good.
It's so good. I want to buy the I actually really want to buy the Scarlet Witch multiverse.
Oh yeah, the Multiverse of Madness one. Actually, it's funny. We didn't mention it, but there is a winter event that is coming out today, I believe.
Yes.
That is going to have a Jeff the Shark kind of Splatoon mode where you
so fun.
Oh, dude, it looks so good. Yeah.
It looks so fun, and you can unlock that skin, which is like him in like a skier outfit, which is fantastic. I'm very excited, but also some of the other skins. Look, Magic's really fun too. By the way, she's one that I've been trying to get better with her portals and stuff, but she's got a great skin in there too, and her being able to flip over to Darkchild and all that. A really fun game. Look, it has its. I'm not gonna say it's perfect. It's not. There are times when like it really does pay in this game to find a character of each class to be good with, because there are times, like as comfortable as I am now with Jeff and in the healing role, there are times, depending on if it's like an escort mission or whatever, that you hit a point where like healing, it's more beneficial to just do damage or soak up damage than it is to heal. And every character has, like every class has that. There's times where like doing damage isn't going to matter as much as like having a couple healers on the group. So it is good. Like I'll switch it up and I'll just be Wolverine for a little bit and tear stuff up for a minute and then get back to whatever. And I've seen that hold the tide. I've seen it turn it. I've seen that happen. So like it is really beneficial for you to learn every class. And there are characters that feel annoying. Like Iron Fist drives me nuts. Okay?
Oh, dude, yeah. It's and that
obliterated.
That kind of tails into the idea. That's another kind of weakness in the game, which is like you need a good team. You cannot do this alone. If everybody has the option at the beginning to pick one of their characters, but you need you need a healer. Somebody has to be healer. If you don't have someone, you can be the strongest Venom ever, but if you don't have the Jeff the Shark in the background who's kind of amping up your health and everything, you will get destroyed. So find some buddies who are playing as well, and like jump in a game with them and everything, and you can have that dichotomy and everything. It works really well, but it's a minor quibble in a game that has so much going for it.
Exactly. So that is our talk there. I've been wanting to nerd out about Marvel Rivals for like 2 weeks now. Thank you, Evan, for jumping in. We're gonna close out the show here. Thank you so much to Kofi, of course, who puts this whole thing together and keeps the train rolling. Janelle, thank you for always doing just jumping into comics and TV and movies. It's been a joy this year. And again, one of the best co-hosts around. Evan, thank you so much for jumping in. One of my favorite people to have on the show and geek out about this stuff. Loves what you brought to Superman and Marvel Rivals as well. You can find us on, of course, our main website there, Comic Book, where we have all of our features and articles. We have deep dives into everything. If you want to know every little thing about the Superman and James Gunn's vision and all of the things coming from the trailer, you can definitely check it out there. You can find us, Comic Book Nation, on every single podcast platform, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also find our video content. And also, if you missed the live show and you want to see the video version, you can head over to our Comic Book Nation YouTube channel and watch us there. Leave comments, everything like that. We love to hear from you guys. Thank you for everything. If we don't speak to everybody on social media and stuff, Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope you have a wonderful holiday and cannot wait to see you next time. So until then, peace, deuces.